What was the nicest thing someone done to you that you won't ever forget? I was skipping school once with some friends. We decided to walk home as it was just maybe 2 to 3 kilometers-ish away. Halfway, a bus driver stopped and asked us to get on. Us being students, we told him we didn't have money for the bus. It was maybe $1 each to ride. The driver told us to get on anyways because it was going to rain. He gave us a ride up to the end of the line where we got off. I still remember him and hope life has been kind to him.
That's a nice story. It's cool how a simple act of kindness can stick with you. The bus driver probably made your day a lot better, especially with the rain coming. It's moments like that which show how small gestures can really matter. Glad you had that experience, and hope he's doing well too.
Finally, they admitted to cheating. I was already overthinking, but they had put it to rest for myself. I just needed that. That was my moment. It validates everything I thought. It ruins my thoughts about them, and what a waste of life for something that was never real. Sounds sad, but it's not. I'm thankful I have my life back in control because of this.
It's strange how clarity can come from something like that. Once the truth is out, it's like a weight lifts off your shoulders. It seems sad at first, but in a way, it helps you refocus on yourself and regain control. I've been there, and it's kind of liberating. You realize what you want and don't want, and that can really help move you forward.
Many things at many levels of nice which I cannot take for granted and always try to keep close to what my mind is thinking of in case of the event that I see an opportunity to return the sentiment at great interest if possible. Just hanging out seemed pretty valuable to me at many times in my life, and I remember a lot of people.
I get that. Just hanging out with friends can feel really important. Those moments often stick with you. It's nice to look back and appreciate the people you've spent time with. They kind of shape who you are. It's cool to think about returning the favor when you can. It keeps connections meaningful. Just simple moments can end up being the most valuable in the long run.
I was having a bad couple of months. My mental health stooped real low, and I didn't find purpose in life. I was walking across a bridge towards the metro with my head down and stuff, and a group of transgenders were roaming around in front of me. I pulled out some change and gave it to one of them and began to walk past. She stopped me and folded the note in half and began to take my nazar, and she bit the edge of the note and gave it back to me and told me not to use it because she had prayed for my well-being. She made my entire week. I've kept that note safe, and I'll always remember her, no matter what.
That's a unique experience. It's interesting how a simple act from a stranger can have a big impact. It sounds like that moment really turned things around for you. Keeping that note must remind you that kindness exists even when times are tough. People can surprise you. Sometimes, they see what you can't.
A customer gave me $100 one time to help get me out of my parents' house, and on my own after I told her I was trying to move out because my parents were packing up and moving far away. I got my place a couple months later and never saw that lady again. A time before that, she saw me watering plants outside in the summer during a heat wave and said, "I'll be right back," and came back 15 minutes later with a sun hat to put on me. She had the same name as my sister, and we were born in the same state. She was the kind of person you saw and just knew was nice. A wonderful woman. I hope she's doing well.
That's a nice memory. It's cool how someone can just show up and make a difference like that. The hat thing is a small gesture, but it shows she cared. It's rare to find people who really connect like that, you know? It sounds like she really wanted to help you out. Hope she's doing well too. People like that can leave a lasting impact without even trying.
I was hitchhiking and couldn't get a lift out of southern Vegas for the life of me, so I walked south. Somewhere between Prim Envy and Nipton, California, I had ran out of food/water. An old couple pulled over. They said they didn't have much, but gave me 2 bottles of water and a small bag of Sour Patch Kids. For some reason, those were the best Sour Patch Kids I had ever tasted. My mouth still waters to this day, some 10 years later.
That's a solid story. Sometimes it's the little things that stick with you. I guess being out there, running low on supplies, makes any kind gesture feel huge. It's interesting how food can take on a different meaning in tough situations. Those Sour Patch Kids probably tasted like a lifesaver. Just a reminder that kindness comes from unexpected places, especially when you're in a tough spot.
I got a new job a couple months ago. All of my coworkers have quickly become my friends, but there one guy, every time we were put on the same shifts, he would help me with most of my works and sometimes even skipped his breaks to finish part of my works too. He would quickly finish his and came to my bench really quickly. All of the extra duties that I have to do but hate doing, it would have already been done by him almost all the time. I appreciate working with him, and the jokes were funny. We laugh like no tomorrow too. We got along like house on fire. It makes the job a bit easier for me too.
It's nice to have someone like that at work. Having a coworker who helps out makes the day less stressful. It's cool that you can joke around and actually enjoy your time on the job. It sounds like he really looks out for you, which is pretty rare. Good friendships can make any job more bearable. Glad you're having a positive experience there.
My mother suddenly had to go to a nursing home because of rapidly progressing dementia. So many people helped and were kind. The care coordinators, the staff at her retirement home, my manager at work, and friends and family, of course. It really helped restore my faith in humanity. People not only went out of their way to be helpful, but also treated us so kindly. It's not time that I ever want to go back to, but it warmed my heart and gave me hope.
That's a tough situation to go through. It's good to hear you had support from so many people. Moments like that can be really eye-opening about how caring others can be. Even if it was a hard time, it's nice to see kindness shining through. It definitely helps to have that support when dealing with something so personal. It's those connections that really matter in times like these.
On my first date, I told her that my birthday was coming up, but often gets overlooked because in my family, there's over a dozen birthdays in the same month as mine. On the second date, she brought a birthday dessert that she made me from scratch and has been just as loving since then. We got engaged this past Christmas. We're getting married in November.
That's a nice story. Starting off with family birthdays is relatable, and it's cool she remembered and surprised you. It shows she cares. Getting engaged during Christmas sounds pretty special too. Now, a wedding in November is something to look forward to.
Went to pay for gas after filling up on the commute from work. No wallet, no contactless at the time. Stranger behind offered to pay for it. I kept pushing to get his details off him to compensate him, but he just asked that his good deed leads me onto a good deed for another. Jeanine Chant. Top bloke.
That's a solid story. It's nice to see that kind of generosity from a stranger. It's a reminder that people can be decent. Paying it forward sounds like a good idea, too. Sometimes you just need a small push to spread kindness. It's pretty simple but meaningful. Those moments make commutes a bit more interesting. Good on that guy for helping out.
One night, after breaking up with my ex, I was sitting and crying in the farthest part of the city. I felt so lost and alone, and I didn't have money to get home. At that moment, a stranger approached me. She gently comforted me, asked where I lived, and when she found out how far away I was, she offered me money for a taxi so I could get home. Her gesture was so kind and important to me at that moment. She truly helped me, and I would love to somehow express my gratitude to her. But unfortunately, I don't remember her name or face because I was overwhelmed with tears.
I've had my share of tough nights, too. Once, I found myself wandering around after a breakup, feeling pretty lost. Someone I didn't know came up and offered me a ride home. It was a simple gesture, but it stuck with me. Those little moments of kindness can really make a difference when you're at your lowest. I get how meaningful that stranger's help was for you. It's good to remember that people can surprise you.
Once I was working and a girl came and said I was a beautiful brunette. The other day she came back and asked for some favor/slash information, and in the end she said, "You're perfect dark-skinned. If you have any flaws I don't know." It was the funniest thing and strangely beautiful that has ever happened to me.
That's an interesting encounter. It's nice when someone appreciates you without holding back. Compliments like that can be unexpected, and they stick with you. It sounds like it made your day a bit brighter, and maybe even gave you a boost of confidence. It's those random moments with people that can leave a good impression. Good to hear that kind of stuff happens.
One day, while I was walking back from school, listening to music with my headphones on, I was feeling sad, probably because I had a bad day due to bullying. I remember feeling the sadness on my face. A guy walking towards me saw me and asked if I was okay because he thought I was crying. To this day, I remember how comforting that was. No one ever asked me if I was okay.
It's interesting how small gestures can have a big impact. That moment of someone checking in on you, even if you weren't crying, shows that people can be kind. It's funny how being in a tough spot makes you appreciate those little acts. Even in a world where bullying happens, some folks still care enough to reach out. It's nice to know not everyone turns a blind eye.
My father wanted to buy a car for himself, like a gift to himself after working for 25 years. He bought a bigger size car because he thought I liked SUVs. Even something that was supposed to be about him, his reward for the hard work that he has done, was somehow about his kids. Cannot be more grateful for even the smallest things parents do for us, even the things that are about them. Heart suit.
That's a nice gesture from your dad. It's interesting how some gifts end up reflecting how much parents care about their kids. Even when they try to do something for themselves, they find a way to include us in it. Shows a lot about family dynamics and the love parents have. Simple moments like these matter and remind us of their sacrifices. Just a small thing, but it means a lot.
My current girlfriend, who I knew for years but was only dating for 3 days at the time. During Christmas break from work, I was alone as my family lives 12 hours away. My girlfriend had a concert to go to in another city. She went to the airport to get on her flight, decided not to get on the flight, and texted me coming over.
That's a chill move. It's kind of nice to see someone prioritize being together over plans. I mean, you've known each other for a while, so it makes sense she'd want to be with you instead of at the concert. Sounds like you both had a relaxed vibe that day, just enjoying the moments without the holiday hustle.
A man that I did not even know literally saved my life. If it weren't for him, I would be dead right now. And when I had nowhere to go, he gave me a place to stay as long as I helped out around the house. We consider ourselves roommates. I consider him family. I will always have love for this man, no matter what, and I will forever be grateful for what he has done for me. Maybe I do have a purpose for this life after all.
It's interesting when a stranger can become such an important part of your life. This guy stepped up when you needed help, gave you a place to stay, and now you see him as family. It's a reminder that sometimes support comes from unexpected places, and those connections can change everything. Finding purpose through that relationship is pretty profound.
I came from an abusive home and was very bullied at school. I was about 14 and sat in a science lesson and couldn't stop my stomach rumbling. We never had any food. The popular girl who sat next to me asked if I was hungry, and I kept saying no cause that's embarrassing. She wouldn't accept it and discreetly passed me her sandwich. I nearly cried from that kind and selfless gesture.
That's a tough background to deal with. Bullying and abuse are rough situations to navigate. It's interesting how a small act of kindness can have such a big impact. The way that girl shared her sandwich really shows that not all people are bad. It might be a simple gesture to some, but it really meant a lot to you. Moments like that can stick with someone for a long time.
My ex-wife handled the house bills. She didn't pay our rent for 3 months and went shopping with the money. Landlord showed up and gave me 24 hours to pay everything with fees, or he would file eviction. I was desperate. A friend of mine wrote me a check for $3,500 without hesitation, letting me pay him back $150 a month until it was paid off.
That sounds really tough. It's hard when you trust someone and they let you down like that. It's nice that your friend stepped up, though. Not everyone would be that generous in a crisis. It shows true friendship when they help you out without making a big deal about it. You probably learned a lot about who's really there for you in tough times.
I was toast, seriously as close to just a breakdown as I've ever been. My mind was fractured, couldn't remember shit, dropping balls on important issues. She convinced me to just get away for a couple of days together. I didn't want to disappoint her, but didn't want to go and let everything fail. We went. I could hardly leave the room, the depression looming. Stress was hiding behind every thought. I braved it for a whole day by the pool, but when we went back to the room, she told me to lay down and put on an EDM soundtrack and gave me back scratches and massages for 4 solid hours, and then let me fall asleep for a really long time. She didn't have to do it, and she never even tried to stop or was bored with it. She made me the entire center of the universe and did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And it brought me back. I got better. Not immediately, but I went home with the determination that things had to change, and I made the changes to become a happier person. She saved me. Girls do not understand the power of back scratches.
Sometimes, you just need someone to pull you out of the dark. A few days away with a friend can really help. I remember when I felt completely lost, too. A close friend just gave me space and support when I needed it most. Little things, like a simple chat or even a back rub, made a big difference. It's wild how those small acts can truly change your mindset and help you find your way back.
I was at a concert for NY and had seen the same band from the same seats the previous 3 nights. All of the people around us had also been there the entire time. I've been hoping for this band to play a specific song that they haven't played in 5 years. I was calling it out the entire time, and it became a bit of a joke in our section, with my show neighbors calling for it too. Right before the show on NY, after 3 nights of calling for this song, the woman sitting in front of me arrives, turns around and says, "I made this for you." She made me a sign with the song's name on it, complete with glitter and flashing lights. It was awesome. She didn't even know my name, yet obviously spent hours making this sign to give to me. Probably not the nicest thing someone's ever done for me, but that kindness from a total stranger whose only commonality with me was our love of this band was pretty fucking awesome. I kept the sign, and will be framing it.
That's a cool story. It's nice when strangers connect over something they both enjoy. That sign sounds like a thoughtful gesture. It must have felt good to see that kind of support, especially after all those nights of hoping for that song. Framing it is a good idea. It'll always remind you of that moment. Moments like these make concerts memorable, not just for the music but for the people too.
Went caving/potholing, which was challenging as I'm claustrophobic. After 3 hours I emerged, exhausted and couldn't climb out. It had been so overwhelming, and I'd been rock climbing, abseiling, mountain biking, hiking, and sleeping out in cold temps overnight in just a survival bag crossing rivers. I was so tired that week. The instructor refused to help me out, but this guy I'd made friends with lifted me out and took off my helmet. I was so incredibly grateful, as I was just so weak.
That sounds rough. Caving is no joke, especially with claustrophobia. The exhaustion from all those activities must have been intense. It's cool that the instructor didn't help, but it's nice to hear someone you connected with stepped up. Sometimes, it's the little moments of kindness that really matter when you're at your lowest. Glad you had someone there to help you out.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.